So I had all that stuff in the bag with me, and after I had them in the car, I drove to the hotel where my car was parked. My car was parked off to the side, kind of in a dark area of the parking lot, and I backed their car in right alongside my car. And I hadn't decided for sure at that point what to do with their bodies, so I threw a bunch of stuff out of my car into their car trunk. I had a shovel, had some diesel, I had a big roll of the 55-gallon trash bags, and the Drano, I threw that in their trunk. And I just remembered I had a stash of that. This is kind of unrelated, but made me think of it. There's a shovel and 2 gallons of Drano up on the road in Eagle River. That's the place I had staked out before I went back east. That was right after I had finished the gun. And there were a couple days when Kimberly was out of town and Lainey was staying with her aunt. I was out looking for trouble. I had that place up there staked out actually 2 or 3 nights. And then I had a park, a couple of parks here in town that I could ride my bike to. I had those staked out. And yeah, but there's still a couple gallons of Drano and a shovel stashed up there on
like Highland Road?
No, I don't know if it's Highland Road. It's the one that goes up to the North Fork Eagle River. You take the road that goes right by the Walmart there. You just keep
Eagle
following
River
that
Road,
up. Yeah. You drive up that, and then off to the right there's a gated parking area. There's like some restrooms. There's like an outhouse down there, and I had that place set up for a while. I had a bag stashed in the bushes there with all my stuff in it, and a cutoff tool, battery-powered cutoff tool, and a padlock. And the plan there was I had that parking lot staked out, waiting for somebody after, like fairly late. I was gonna take them and use the cutoff tool to lock the gate, and then do my thing there in the parking lot. And then I had the Drano and the shovel stocked up there as a way to get rid of the body if I needed it. So,
but that never happened.
No.
And we're talking about like May of 2011.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I threw all that stuff in their trunk and went out started driving out to the house. It was really late. There wasn't anybody on the roads or anything, and got out to the house, parked back behind the house there, and she was in the front seat, and I thought I had her pretty secure. Like I say, at that point I thought I wasn't really that worried about it. I think I even had the seatbelt cable tied together so that she couldn't just pop the buckle and get out. My plan was to take him into the basement, tie him up separate, and then take her upstairs. There were these 2 queen-size mattresses in the upstairs corner bedroom. And that's where I planned to take her, and then him I was going to leave downstairs for a while. But anyway, I took him down through the outside basement access. There were those 2 big steel doors into the basement, and I walked him down there, found there was like an old stool, and cable tied his hands down to the stool so he couldn't stand up, and then I had the stool backed up against the wall, and thought I had it pretty well secured. And well, I mean, it must have taken me longer than I thought, because I came out of the basement and she was standing right there by the door. She had got out of the car, or she was in the process of, like, she just had thongs on her feet, and she had somehow broke the cable ties on her hands and on her feet and got out of the car. She was almost to the road when I came out of the basement, and she saw me come out and she started running, and I tackled her on the lawn and roughed her up a little bit and tied her back up and took her upstairs and had her lay down on I had the mattresses. I think I had already had them set up from the day before when I had the house. I had them thrown down in the middle of the room upstairs. Had her lie down on the mattresses. I gave up on the cable ties. I don't know, it must have been a bad batch or something. They kept breaking, and so I didn't trust them anymore. So I took duct tape and made handcuffs out of that, and with her hands behind her back. And then once I had her laying down on the bed, I took the nylon rope and ran it under between the mattresses, under the one she was on and on top of the other one, and then did a trucker's hitch and cinched her down to the mattress, and then cut off the rope that was left over. She was feisty. She was like fighting the whole time, and so I just kept tightening the rope on the bed. I had it set up so that it was just like a loop. You could pull the loop and then tighten the hitch, and I just kept tightening it. And I finally told her, like, if you keep struggling, I'm just going to keep tightening it until you pass out, because I think I had it around her neck. And after that, she stopped. And I had in my bag, I had some cuffs that I had made out of nylon, 1-inch nylon webbing, and I put those on her feet and on her ankles, and they had a loop on them. And I took the rope. There was the door to the bedroom was taken off the hinges. The hinge was still there on the door frame, and it had a pin in it. And I took one section of rope, tied it to her left foot and to the cuff on her left foot, and ran it around the pin on that hinge, and did another trucker's hitch. And then there was nothing to tie the other one to on the other side of the room. So I ran downstairs, and there was like a tool room off the back of the house, and found a section of pipe about 20 inches long, and found some big nails, like 4-inch 20-penny nails, and took that upstairs. And she was already struggling again, trying to get off the bed, but she hadn't actually got off yet. And I took the nail and drove it into the window facing the side of the window facing the road there, and did another trucker's hitch on that side, and just kept tightening both of them till her legs were like spread eagle, and she couldn't move at all, really. And then I heard some movement downstairs, because at that point she had finally shut up a little bit, and I heard something downstairs, and that's when I started having problems with the guy. I went down there, and he had the stool. He was kind of a big guy, like overweight, and the stool had just collapsed. And I guess when it collapsed, the cable ties that I had on his wrist behind his back, they had broke, and the stool came apart, and I don't know, just messed my whole plan up. So I was kind of pissed off about that, and I was like yelling at him, like, why are you trying to get away? You're just making it worse, and at that point he was still like trying to talk me out of it. He's like, just let us go. I know you're in too deep, but we haven't really seen you. You can still walk away. And I just kind of laughed at him. I was like, I was like, I don't know if I actually said anything, but in my head I was like, you don't even know how much planning I've put into this, and just walk away. And but he wouldn't. I mean, at that point, like I say, he had just reached a point where he wasn't going to cooperate no matter what. And I didn't have the Ruger 1022 on me. I had it. It was upstairs in the backpack. I had my 40 cal and I had a knife, and I didn't want to use the knife on him because I'm like, I'm going to make a big mess. And so I think I just kind of grabbed him by the neck and pushed him up against one of the posts and put the knife to him, and he still, like, he had his hands out, but he still wasn't doing what I said. And then I started getting pissed, and I just told him, I was like, I have a gun upstairs, and if you want to do this the hard way or do it the easy way, it's up to you. He didn't really believe me or take me seriously or whatever, so there was a shovel in the basement, and I hit him with that a couple times, and he was still trying to wrestle with me and stuff, and I just came to the realization that he wasn't going to stop fighting, and so I knew I was either going to have to knock him out or just kill him. But by then I already had her all set up upstairs, and it was, it's like, it was annoying me that I was having to deal with him, and that was part of the whole plan for taking a couple. I had this idea in my head of what was going to happen, and she was screwing it up, I guess. So so once I realized he wasn't going to let me tie him back up again, I just kind of gave up on that part of the plan. I was like, oh, I'm just going to kill him, I guess. And the plan was to have him, I was going to rape her and like, I'm not going to say what I was going to do, but there was like a plan I had that he was going to be involved too, and but once he wasn't tied up anymore, I just felt like it was kind of a waste of time, and so I went back upstairs. I like ran back upstairs, and by then I was all amped up, and grabbed the 1022 out of the backpack. I didn't want to shoot him with the 40 cal because there was a cop car right across the road. I don't know if it was the sheriff's house or if his car was just there.
Parked in the driveway or something?
Yeah, it was like there was a house probably only 100 yards away, and the 40 cal was loud, and I was paranoid about using it, so I ran back upstairs and grabbed the 1022, and I had usually when I was carrying those, I always had like the 50 round drum with me, or all the other magazines, but when I was carrying it, I would just carry it with the 10 round magazine because it would fit up under my jacket better. And so I grabbed that, and I grabbed the silencer and put that on, and I was upstairs for maybe not very long, like 20 or 30 seconds, and she was still on the bed. She couldn't move anywhere at that time, but she could tell that things were not going well. I think I was cursing and stuff, and so like he kept yelling up after me up the stairs. He was like, "Where's my wife? What's going on?" And I was like, I told you, you're not going to cooperate. You're going to do it the hard way. And came back downstairs, and he was standing at the bottom of the stairs in the basement still. It was like he didn't have any light, but I could tell when I came down the stairs, like he was trying to figure out like some way to fight me. He was like feeling around for something to hit me with, and I came back down the stairs, and And I saw that. I said, "Oh, you're still not going to cooperate." And I had the gun out in front of me, like pointed from the hip, and had my headlamp on. He saw the gun, and he started to say something, and it just pissed me off, and I just started pulling the trigger. And he threw his arms up, kind of crossed them in front of him, it seems like. And I actually saw, like in my headlamp, I actually saw the bullets hitting him. But it wasn't loud. It was, you couldn't even really, I mean, if someone heard that gun, even if they were in the next room, they probably wouldn't even know it was a gun. It was that quiet.
How many times did you pull the trigger?
I just kept pulling the trigger. I pulled as fast as I could until the magazine was empty.
So 10?
Yeah. And yeah, he didn't. He was still standing when the last shot hit him.
Where did the shots hit him mostly?
Seems like two of them might have hit him in the forehead, or not forehead, but in the forearms. So like his arms were crossed in front of him, and then seems like at least one or two rounds, like the last rounds that hit him, he was starting to fall. It seems like they might have hit him in the neck or in the head. But for the most part, I think it was like the chest area, torso. And I was surprised, like how fast he went down us, because I wasn't. I mean, it's just a 22, but I think he was in shock. It was like, I think he went into shock because I don't think he was dead. But he, yeah, he hit the ground, and I knew he wasn't getting back up again. He was bleeding quite a bit. I don't think very many of the rounds, I don't, if any of them went through. I think it was subsonic rounds I was using, so they weren't. I don't think they went all the way through. If they find the body, they're probably going to find 6 or 8 slugs in it still.
Do you remember what type of rounds they were? Were they bonded rounds?
No, the subsonic. They're probably going to be one of 2 types. I had 2 types that I had with me. I had the subsonic rounds, which are just a lead bullet, and they weren't actually labeled subsonic. I think they were like a target round that I had got at a store up here, and they were a lot more accurate than the subsonic rounds that I had tried. So those are the ones I had with me. And so it was either those, or it would have been like the CCI mini mag, which is like a copper coated, either a hollow point or I forget which ones I found worked better. It was either a hollow point or a solid bullet. So that it'll be one of those 2. But I was pissed off after I had to shoot him, because I knew I was really proud of that gun. I was like, now I have to throw the barrel away. So I was pissed off about that. But anyway, yeah. So after he went down, I checked him out for a couple minutes, just kind of watched him, and he had his eyes closed, so I don't think he was dead. But I waited long enough to make sure that he wasn't going to get back up or go anywhere, and then I went back upstairs and took the gun apart. And I don't think she knew that, or I didn't take it apart, I just took the silencer off. But and put it back in my backpack. I don't think she knew that I had shot him, but she knew that something had happened. And after that, at first she didn't, try anything much. But then once she realized that I was going to rape her, then she started fighting again and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go into details of that part, but I had all the ropes and had a bunch of stuff with me. Like I had stuff that I had been thinking about for a while that I was going to do, and I did it. And had her tied up a couple different ways, and.
She face down or face up?
She was face down at first, and or no, face up at first, and had her hands behind her back, and that was, the ropes were a big part of it, I guess. Like,
Big part of what?
just like, I don't know, I guess you could call it like the fantasy that developed over the years. It seems like I got more into the tying up part, and I'm not sure why really. But yeah, that was a big. That was a good one. I had everything on that one. I had that rope, and then I had it's weird because even though I knew I was gonna kill her, I had all that stuff. It's more like set up like bondage gear, I guess you would call it. Because I didn't want to just tie the ropes around. It sounds weird, but I didn't want to just tie the ropes around her ankles, because it like cuts off circulation and it's really uncomfortable. And so that's why I had the cuff things made. But looking back, that's ridiculous, because I already knew I was going to kill her, and obviously, I was raping her anyway, so obviously I didn't have her comfort in mind really, but it was just part of the fantasy thing, I guess. I just had it in my mind that was the way I was going to do it. And it was funny, there was a big hole in the bedroom floor. I don't know if it was from an old stovepipe or what, but I had my bag sitting by the bed, and stuff kept falling through that hole in the floor, like my stove, my little propane burner thing. It fell down through the hole, and thought the house was going to burn down for a minute. Yeah, so I don't know. I raped her, and she was face up like that on the mattress, and then I went outside for a while, and then I went upstairs and tied her up in a different way and raped her again. And then by then it was starting to get light, and there were starting to be like commuters driving on the road, and I knew that she could hear cars and stuff going by. I just didn't want her to try and get away again, like, when there were actually people around. She came really close to getting away and all that. She was almost to the road when I found she got out of the car. I couldn't believe that. After that, I almost wasn't going to use cable ties again, because I didn't trust them. She was like, I think she was 50 something, and she was a lot stronger than she looked. I don't think I've ever broke one of those cable ties. But after that, I think when I raped her the second time, I was worried about her screaming, so I made a gag, took a bunch of paper towels and some duct tape, put them in her mouth, and wrapped duct tape around her mouth. And after that, she wasn't fighting anymore. I think she knew what was going to happen. And put all my remember everything that had touched her. I wore condoms when I raped her, but anything that had touched her, like the cuffs and everything else, I didn't want to throw them away, but I just decided I better, so I threw all that stuff. I had one of those big bags, and I just after I had her tied up, I had cut off all of her clothes with that knife. And actually, I think it was the same knife that I had on me when they arrested me in Texas. And I put all her, everything that had been on her, I put in that bag, and then grabbed the bag, walked her downstairs all the way to the basement, and she was sitting on a bench down there. And I had already, she was kind of out of it by then. She was, when second time I raped her, I had choked her. I think she passed out for a little while, and then, so she was, like by the time I walked her downstairs, she was a little bit out of it. I don't know if she really knew what was going on at that point. And I had my had my leather gloves on, and I think I took a piece of the rope and stood behind her while she was sitting on that bench, and used it like a garrote and strangled her. And I knew that she was gone. Like she lost control over her bladder and stuff, and so I was pretty sure that she was gone. But then I wanted to be sure she wasn't gonna wake back up or start breathing again. So I took a cable tie and put it around her neck, tightened it down as much as I could, and then left her on the floor and went outside for a little bit longer. And I think I went out and got the Drano out of the trunk of the car and the garbage bags, and took that stuff down to the basement. And by then I'm pretty sure the guy was dead, but when I moved him, I think it was just air coming out of the lungs, but there was like a groan or a sound or something. So I was thinking that, at first I was thinking, wow, how can he still be alive? But then I realized that just because he made a noise, it didn't mean he was alive. I don't think he was alive. And he was heavy. He was probably over 200 pounds. And he was kind of in the middle of the basement. There was a lot of blood on the floor. And I think I grabbed him by the legs and pulled him back. I think he was wearing sandals too. I think I took his sandals off and threw them in the garbage bag I had down there. And dragged him back to the corner of the basement and then bagged him up. And then she was quite a bit easier to move. She was over by the stairway to the downstairs, but I just dragged her over and bagged her up. They were right like side by side when I left him there. And after I had the bags on him, I pulled the bags back and dumped a gallon of that Drano on each of the bodies, mostly on like the hands and the chest and face areas, because he had been, I'm not sure, the Drano was like overkill, but I was thinking I was gonna stop and check on him on my way back through, but I guess it was daylight when I drove back through that area, and I didn't want to stop at the house and didn't want anybody to see me at the house in case they found the bodies or something. But I guess I was curious to see what the Drano was going to do, so that's what I was thinking. I dumped it on him and then bagged him, like pulled the bags back over him, and but before I had her, before I did that, I took everything off of her. I had my side cutters, and I cut the cable ties and handcuffs and duct tape and all that stuff off of her. And yeah, so I think the only thing that, I guess he still had his shorts on, but that was it. And bagged everything up and thought about trying to round up all the shell casings that were all over the basement, but then it was too big of a mess, so I just gave up on that and just figured I'd throw the bolt of the gun away too. And I had them back in the corner, and there was all kinds of trash over on the other side of the basement, like shelves, old shelves, and ducting, mostly wood debris and stuff. And by then it was too late in the morning. I didn't want to torch the house because there were too many people going by. The fire department probably would have been there right away. So I just decided just to pile all that stuff on top of them and hope that nobody found them right away. And well, that's what I did. And by the time I left, it was, I don't know what time it was. It was light out. And